we have a nerd discussion. So to jump into this one, I'm gonna let him speak for himself because I don't want to paraphrase anything that he thinks or feels incorrectly. But so Irv feels, or he's post things about when comic book movies has a certain, like, they play into the sexuality of the character, regardless of hetero, whatever. And he feels like if it's not important to the story, why is it in there at all? It should be focused on with the story. And like, I guess his example was like, it should be about beating Thanos, not about who's dating and who's relating. And so, Irv, I don't know if you want to paraphrase it, but I'm gonna let you just jump right into it and we can have this discussion, man.
I give you an example. In Endgame, when they went to Tony Stark's house and they showed him have a kid and do this and that, that was important to the story. Now, I'm gonna use Eternals. Eternals was very interesting because there was a lot of sexuality, straight, homo, and all this, and otherwise, that made the movie longer than it should have been, and it just didn't fit to anything that belonged in the story. So first of all, and I was getting everything ready and I forgot the main two characters.
Black dude, you ain't got to. You can just stereotype all the time. You ain't looking all the time. I forgot the guys. If you don't know, this is a show with blurbs, and if you don't know what a blurb is, Jason,
it's a black nerd.
It's all it is. Black folks don't know people's names in movies. We don't know their names. We just be like, hey, the Asian cat.
That's my cousin's. That's my cousin's kid. That's Bebe's kid over there. I don't know his name.
The white dude that had the Superman powers. And
okay. Oh yeah.
Is that good enough?
Rob, there you go.
Okay, the white man with the Superman powers, and then the Asian lady that took over the main character had relations. They're not real humans. Make it make sense. Then I remember Sprite because she's the youngest. Sprite was in love with the white Superman dude. Sprite is under 18.
Legally a child.
Legally a child. Like, are you really insinuating this thing for kids to look at? Be like, you, and they even mentioned it. Hey, you have a crush on him. I know you're in love with him still, aren't you? They're still not real. So how are they even getting feelings? Then the black guy from Atlanta, I could say that.
Yeah.
Paper boy.
Yeah, paper boy. About that paper boy.
Paper boy is in love with a man and has a kid. The man does nothing with the story. He should even be in the story. But yet and still, you're forcing it into the movie. So when I see certain things, and it's another thing why I think Batwoman ended up getting canceled off CW as well. You're forcing a story that has nothing to do with why people like these characters. So I'm watching Batwoman. I want to see how she's going to save Gotham from these idiots that go psycho. I'm not watching it for 15 minutes of, oh, I'm in love with you and this and this and this. We shouldn't be doing this. And maybe 4 or 5 minutes. You can make it go that way, but you can't be in love with every single female in Gotham. People in Gotham are crazy. We know this. But
everybody in Gotham are crazy. You still live there. You crazy.
Thank you. But literally, there was an episode with Batwoman where 20 minutes of the show was a relationship story. Mind you, the bad guys are just terrorizing Gotham. She's just like not even paying them no mind whatsoever. How are you going to stop this menace that's going through? I don't need to know that you're in love with this person. Like, your side character has issues because of his father passed and didn't know his situation. Apparently, the sister that you never liked just has a storyline of her own. Now, all of a sudden, we got to worry about your 45 relationships with every woman that comes into the show. Like, come on. And that's why I kind of liked when they brought in Robin Givens, because that gave her another storyline to have. But then, toward the end of the season, they just had to throw it back in there with the other black girl that was in the show. Had nothing to do with this.
But they're both black, Irvin, so they got to get together. You didn't know that was a rule.
It had
black.
I guess. She was dating a Latin girl at the beginning of the season.
Y'all actually went to a high school with black people in it. So when you go to an all-white school and there's another black person, that's your girlfriend.
That's your girlfriend. Yeah.
Don't care if y'all got nothing in common whatsoever. That's your girlfriend over there.
But
y'all like, better make some little beautiful brown babies together.
But then it's a story coming out saying how it's a 12-minute band scene in Saudi Arabia, for a sexual scene that's going into the Doctor Strange movie. Did you really need that in a Doctor Strange is already a crazy character that 450,000 things goes on with his character. Now you're going to add in a homosexuality scene. It's not needed. It has nothing to do with the story. I'm trying to figure out how you're going to kill that octopus in the middle of the street. Like,
well, we saw he killed the bus, so we know how that got ended.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, if you want to bring in a story that goes into and make it a longer situation, fine. But just don't force it upon us. Like, I think so many stories and movies and TV shows just want to force things on you. Like, you're telling a great story, then all of a sudden, hey, I didn't know your husband was home. Oh, no, actually, it's my wife. Don't force it on us. Make it feel natural. Like, you know, actually, I'm being on vacation. Me and my wife are going to do something. Let it ride through. But like, somebody walk around, oh, I didn't know you were gay. Like, why would you even add that? Oh, I didn't know you were married. Okay, that has nothing to do with the story.
Right.
But my thing is, I just don't want everything to be forced. Like, you could tell the story and maybe throw it in, let it build to that side. But if you force it, it kind of makes you like, okay, you're just trying to make a point because you want somebody else to be included.
I was waiting to see if we got around to the inclusion.
The inclusion.
I don't know, Jason. What are your thoughts on this? Because I know you're new to hearing this, where I've seen his posts and kind of blah. So
I can understand your position. I can understand your position. As I was talking with Jason a little bit earlier, there's a thing where they do in a lot of shows and TV shows, especially with gay men, where they basically they have a character and they see another character and they make eyes. In the next scene, they're having sex, and it's like, that's weird. Like, that's not how things. Like, it's weird. It's like a weird thing to do, and I can understand. Like, to me, yes, that definitely does feel forced. Other than just building up this character to have a boyfriend or whatever. But to push back a little bit, especially in the kind of the Marvel thing, or even with Batwoman, her lesbianism is a part of her character. That's like the number one thing.
And I know that.
Like, for me, it's like these people exist. Put them in your movie; they exist, and it doesn't always have to be a part of the story. Just to let that person know, like, oh yeah, that person is gay. Okay, let's keep it moving. Great. And for me, those kind of things are fine, because you don't need a reason for a person to be in a story, right? You don't need a reason for a black person to participate in the story. You don't need a reason for a trans person to participate in the story, because they exist. That's just it. They're here, they live, they can be a part of the story, whether we agree with it or not, because they exist. They live in the real world. So that's the only thing I would push back on that. Other than the fact that, yeah, sometimes it does feel like they're doing it more for, I don't like to use this word, titillation rather than storytelling parts. Yeah, and I can understand that, but that's kind of like how sex has been used in the media throughout, since it's been, since dudes have written anything down. Like, everything has always been like more for sensationalism than for storytelling techniques. But I think more so today than in any other part of our media history in the last, at least the last, 50 or so years, that, directors and writers and producers are being more cognizant of adding characters who are not in the global norm or whatever I would say, LGBT characters, and having them being their stories being more inclusive to the story rather than just being tokenism. And I think that's probably the problem with a lot of this. It's just tokenism rather than being something that is definitely a integral part of the character or integral part of the story or the plot. It's just like, oh, there's your black guy. You guys happy?
Right, you're right.
Rather than like,
I don't want it to do that. Like, to me, you could tell a story and include that, but don't force it. Don't make it seem like that has to be there because you don't want to upset anybody.
Yeah,
and
I can definitely understand that.
And if I'm enjoying the story, and the first thing I say is, "Damn, why they could have just left that out."
And especially in a lot of like Disney stuff or stuff that is trying to they're trying. I mean, like anything in Hollywood, especially when it comes to like representation, their first instinct is to tokenize rather than to actually include.
Tell a story.
Yeah. So like, this is part of the growing pains of hopefully it gets better. But I mean, like, you know, when the aliens come down and they want to be a part of the stories, they're going to be tokenized too.
You know,
It's going to be just going to be
they're
another
already
cycle.
tokenized. We already know what the aliens are about with any movie. And that's why I'm gonna jump in there. We're gonna shoot it back to Irv, and then we'll kind of wrap this up in the bow and kind of ride with it. So the thing, and Jason got to hit a lot of the points I was going to hit, but I guess the main point I want to hit, especially when we come into the focus of the sexuality, is that unlike the tokenism or the representation when it comes to you and I or any race or even gender, that is easy to see without words being said. So when you're like, oh, I hate that they put that in there, that's the only way you can show that representation is through sexuality. It's no other way to show it without them having to say and announce it in some kind of way in there. Now, is it pigeonholed in this token? Absolutely, but all representation, because the representation is being produced by people who don't understand how to properly write for the people that they're putting in there, you have to kind of take it as, like you said, the beginning stages of representation. Like, hell, as long as Black people have been in Hollywood from the beginning to this, we still don't even, we just talked about it with two shows ago. Remember What Makes Me Mad? We still don't even have movies about us that are not just quote unquote slavery or struggle movies. Like we said, how come the Northmen couldn't have been with Black people? But you know why? Hollywood will never do that, because they don't see us as marketable. Even though Black Panther can make a billy, they don't see us as marketable. They don't see that we can make money, or we can make money at the box office, because that is the claim that they say. So even with the LGBT and all that, etc., they're never going to put them to lead something out, because Batwoman will be the mark for why you don't put those characters in your stuff and let them be leads. Like, every failure is the reason why you don't do it. So when you see this pigeonhole representation, it's usually one, to check a box, but then two, some people want to see themselves like that. Like, let's be real, the Eternals is an all-white cast in the comic books. So any representation in it was pigeonholed and was forced. But like you said, their race didn't matter to it, because they weren't even human beings. So their concept of race shouldn't even have mattered. But the point of being is just that without adding those nuggets in there, then without have that representation, then technically we would never have representation from that group, because unless it's a story about them being that, then we won't know it, because we would never reference it and do it. So I think until Hollywood finds a more creative way to show that representation, which I struggle to even think how they can do it, it's going to kind of be what it is, because that's the only way you're going to get that check off representation, unless you start off the movie and be like, hey, by the way, such and such gay. Onto the
that would be great. At the beginning of the movie, this character right here, total gay.
Gay characters
onto
before
the movie
starts.
You guys ready?
Right. Listen to gay characters. Everybody got it. Everybody understand it. This one's trans. This one good. Got it. All right.
Here we go.
The movie. Outside of that, there's no way really to do it. So that's why. And I think even the comment for Dr. Strange was like America Chavez saying she had two moms. Maybe I think was the thing. That was one of the things being cut. So it is some Latino girl out there that probably has two moms that, yes, you're right, Disney has no reason to put it in there. But now they're probably going to be akin to this character, because they're going to say, wow, this character has something that I have, and blah, blah, blah. But also, America Chavez is fucking awesome, too. So I'm surprised.
And she has two moms. She has two moms in the comic book. She's always had two moms.
Yeah. But that's also, but that's why I say I'm here for it, in the sense that I feel like it's me being a brother. That's why I wanted you to have it on it, because like I like when brothers have this perspective, because it's easy for me to find a white guy to be an a-hole and doesn't understand diversity, and it's like, well, I don't understand. They gotta make them black. Like, why can't you just make your own movies? Right. You understand that concept, but you have also look at it as a situation, because I think where Irv is coming from, and correct me, and that's gonna let you finish so you can set the record straight if we mischaracterize. You're just saying, I want a strong story. Yes. And if you're gonna put this in my movie, make the story make sense of it, not say I have a story and then we're going to put this in because, you know, I need you all to know we got y'all backs. So I'll let her finish and we'll go on to, go ahead.
Let's also be very, very clear that Batwoman as a TV show just sucks all around.
Oh, I just want to say that too.
It has nothing to do with her being a lesbian. Yeah. It's just a terrible show.
Example, that woman sucked balls. And she probably does not.
She doesn't suck balls, but you know.
Literally.
Right.
She figuratively sucks.
Final thoughts on you, Irv?
But yeah, everything you guys said is basically what I was hitting on. Like, I knew Batwoman was created as a gay character and basically was to fit in just to make it seem like Batman and Robin were not gay because she was dating him at first and then switched over and then came out and had all that situation. But honestly, when we saw that Ruby Rose was hired to be Batwoman at first, did we have a question to know that she was going to be a gay character or not?
Nope.
I mean,
You're right. That's a good point.
My question is like, how is she going to beat up on people? She's like 110 pounds,
Exactly.
soaking wet.
but like, you picked the correct character for the type of role that it was going to be. So I didn't question that part of it. And it even started out that way. So that story progressed and I started to enjoy that part. Now, when they switched Batwomen and it was like, okay, I see a woman across the club, I'm gonna sleep with her. That's forced.
Hey, look, just because the black one had game, we can't be mad at her because the white one was black. Sister was like, gang, gang, I want that right there. I'm about to go have that. Hey,
But-
you know I'm Batwoman, right?
But like 100%, like and like you was going to say it too, Jason, too. Also, like if you're going to do that, create your own. Like the source material is there for America Chavez to have two of the same sex parents. You can keep that story in there. That's fine. The source material says that. But if you force something like Superboy,
we don't need to see America Chavez go over there and be like, "Oh, are you a lesbian? I'm a lesbian. Let's scissor."
But the story
I may pay for that though.
like she might be like, you know, I had a situation like that between my moms or something like that, and, you know, and then you can progress from there. But like you just walking home and be like, oh yeah, there's my mom's. So let's go up here and try to figure out what we're gonna do.
Let's jump in this multiverse portal. See you, moms.
That's what I don't want. Like, let it progress. Like, by no means do I want people to not be included, but it feels like it's a slap in their face if you're doing it that way.
Yeah, include them right.
Well, and again, like I said, that's why I wanted you to come on to clarify because I think it's a great conversation. And then kind of for people who struggle with the difference, he's saying like, hey, look, hey, it's that quick pan over and it's the two moms and maybe they're holding hands at the doorway, like cheering on as she goes on. But a good way to include it would be that if you're focusing on a new character and you're showing her perspective so that she feels fully fleshed out, showing her waking up and her mom getting her up because she's letting an alarm go off and she gets up and gets dressed and her other mother's making her breakfast and they're having a conversation. But it's nobody talking that, oh yeah, my two moms. But you can see because we have eyes that she has two parents and that actually fleshes out her story because you can show like how they love and care for her, what kind of home environment she has. That could be in the story because it's giving her character development, not just say, hey, I got two moms and then I'm going to go fight crime. Like, and that's what he means. That's the difference levels he's saying. That could be included in your storyline to help versus the others just put in because you're just tokenizing representation. Hopefully that summed that up correctly if I misquoted anything.
Someone's definitely going to run with this and be like, get rid of the gays!
No! Gays either!
Get rid of them all! I was right!
Right.
Now we're
The
going
blacks are rebelling as well. Thank you, Dave Chappelle.
Get rid of the
Thank
gays,
you.
and we get rid of the blacks, and it will be perfect. It will be like the 50s all over again.
Dave Chappelle has changed the tide in this battle. Oh man, we are definitely gonna get canceled on our first stream ever.
This is going to shut us down. Like
Kick
I
me
can
off,
imagine
Dallas.
some.
Just kick me off.
Oh, we already lost the viewer. We lost the viewer.
No.
Yeah. They were like,
Of the two.
they're like, nah, this is too black. It's too black.
I got
Oh man,
your cousin. Come on, come back.
Right.
It probably was my get rid of the gays comment. I was doing that in jest, everybody. I don't want, no, that's not what I want. I want the exact opposite. I want people to live and have happy lives and enjoy themselves.
Well, Irv, I mean, we have used you up. We've abused you, but enjoyed having you here. I mean, hopefully Jason wasn't too rough on you. He's really mean to new people, so hopefully
It's nice.
I embraced it. I was ready for it.
I was nice.
I know you have. Irv has a podcast with sports that's phenomenal, and he does talk about some life stuff. But I'll let you plug your stuff because I think it's awesome. I think more people should listen to it. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's the Big Irv versus the People podcast. It's basically my thoughts against what you got to say, but I'm the judge, jury, and the executioner. So basically, what I do is I talk about sports. I talk about every crazy thing that goes on. I try not to make it the 1 or 2 topics that everybody talks about on TV. So it's another outlet for you to listen to. I also got a message board if you want to drop messages for me to talk about. If you follow, you'll see the link on the beginning of the podcast. Just appreciate having me on here, man. Talk my talk. If you guys got anything else that you want me to spit my mind on, let me know. I'll be back.
Irv, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Irv, we'll catch you next time, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so very much.
Later.